you go to those new house, you're going to have problems. And you don't instruct lawyers, most important of all. So when we're doing this, we're writing, basically we have to check whether the earthing is right in the house. You have to check, if we don't check the earthing, we're going to get a shock as soon as you get into the house. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. When we make mistakes in our lives, then remember that they're going to come, we have to face them at some time in the future. And we're going to talk about karmas, sanchit karmas, nishchay karmas, prarabdha karmas in chapter 3. So if you go down the wrong route, you make the wrong choice and do the wrong things, you're going to say, how would we know what house we're going to get in the next life? But who's going to suffer in the future? It's going to be you that's going to suffer. Ultimately, we're going to pay that price because we'll be living in that house and nobody else. Therefore, we must have this awareness of how we're going to live our lives, and it must be from this moment onwards. Not a single moment of unconsciousness will do. The consequences that we pay for one mistake is a very big topic we're going to discuss later. It's something that we learn from our experiences, but we want to get this gnan already, so we're going to refresh our intellects, get that inspiration for our intellects, so we don't make those mistakes. That's why the Lord is telling us that our souls changes bodies just like we change clothes. If you want to find the deeper meaning of what Sri Krishna is saying here, is that we all have a responsibility. The Lord's shown us that we are immortal, but He also shows us that we've got a responsibility in our life. When you're wearing the old clothes, the new clothes are going to be made, but you want to make sure those new clothes are made properly. If there's new clothes, you can't liberate it as well. But if you don't make sure those new clothes are proper, they're going to have wear and tear. You don't look at them properly, you get 14 days of exchange in the real world. You never get exchange in this world. That's why people regret things in this life. The second point here is that one has to prepare for death. Death is one of my favorite topics. And you have to prepare for death, you have to prepare for the next life, and this life is an opportunity to prepare for them. We have to prepare for death. Prepare for what? Prepare for death and prepare for our next lives. We're preparing ourselves. And related to this, Kabirji has given us another famous story. Those of you who know about this. Nale dole shishuke thale pahe se nahi ana hai kalle shingar chatur abeli sajan ke ghar jana hai. Nale dole shishuka thale paha se nahi ana hai kalle shingar chatur abeli sajan ke ghar jana hai. He's saying that dying is just like going to a beloved's house. One has to prepare by bathing, by getting ready. By using the word chatur in the third line, Kabir has done something very wonderful. Only chatur means clever in a way, but not directly means clever. Only a clever person will prepare. Another person will be let's eat, drink, and be merry, with the attitude that we're in this house, so let's just enjoy ourselves and worry about the new house later on. This is not clever. Who's clever? Who comes first in the examinations? If those examinations are in April, and a person that starts revising in March, like I did at law school, that person's not going to come first. The person that starts right from the beginning. When the school began in September, the pupil that's studying for a few hours every single day, and that person comes first in the class, and he does not need to worry about cramming his studies in March like we did at law school. He doesn't need to worry about them. When people become awakened at the age of 60 or 70, is because they didn't prepare when they were meant to prepare. They just suddenly realize that it's time to leave their houses and they haven't made preparations for the new house. What will they do? Where will they go? This is why they get sad. This is why they get depressed. Because those that have got their next houses ready while they're living in these current houses and have to get the clothes ready while they've got their old clothes, these people are chatur, they're clever, they're already preparing. So when the girl is going to her in-laws house after a wedding, then there's tears in her eyes, but at the same time she's happy in her heart. Because both these things are simultaneous and true. Because she's got tears in her eyes, she's leaving her old family, we're leaving her body, but at the same time, she's leaving that house where she grew up, where she had all those years of love. In her heart, she's happy because she's going to live with her husband. And if you've got a husband like Archer, you're going to be happy. So he's happy he's going to be a husband. Only those boys or those girls who have lived pure lives are going to have that happiness in their hearts. Otherwise, they're going to have that fear inside me. What if they find out about me? In the same way, those that live their lives purely and beautifully are never going to be afraid at the time of death. And those who have lived their lives wrongly will always be afraid at that time of death. And the soul will not even want to leave the body. They're always dying. The souls just don't want to leave because they're scared about about what's going to happen when they get into their new bodies. The people are sitting around a dying man, and he says, don't worry, I'll be out of the hospital soon, I won't die, I'll come and fulfill your wishes. Why does he have to say all these things when he's dying? He doesn't want to leave the body. Shri Krishna takes that fear of death away, and why should we have that fear of death? So that comes to the end of that class. We said this beautiful story about Shri Krishna and Arjuna, which I liked last time. I might say it again, because I really want to say this story, that people that are getting over the death of a loved one, it's a common experience we all have. Same thing happened in the Gita, where Arjuna, Abhimanyu died in the war. He was like 18 years to 20 years old. Arjuna was completely depressed in his heart after the Mahabharata war took place. He was just living in the hospital now for Paris. He was so depressed, he couldn't get over the death of Abhimanyu. Shri Krishna saw that he's not going to get over this death, he needs to change his location. What Shri Krishna did? He said, let's go traveling, let's go somewhere else. They went traveling for a while, they reached a place, it was dawn, it was twilight, the birds were singing, it was very beautiful surroundings. They sat down in the garden. Suddenly, Arjuna's gaze fell on a youth, a very handsome boy, he's about age 18 to 20. Arjuna looked at him and thought, if Abhimanyu was alive today, he looked exactly like this. He looked exactly like my son. Suddenly, this boy let out a really large scream, let out a shriek. Arjuna went running towards him. But what's wrong? Picked up the boy, and the boy told him, I don't know who you are, where you come from, but I haven't got long left to live. A snake is biting me, I'm going to die. I just have one request. I've got a father who is blind, I'm his only son. I've just picked up these flowers for him. Just tell my father that his son is no more. Arjuna said, don't worry, I'm reassuring you, nothing's going to happen, you're going to be fine. At that moment, the person left his body. Arjuna thought, what are we going to do? Shri Krishna told Arjuna, get up Arjuna. Arjuna asked Shri Krishna, where? Shri Krishna tells Arjuna, we're going to go and see that boy's father and tell him that his son's left the body. Arjuna says, no way can I do this. I've already lost my son. I know exactly what it feels like to lose a son. I cannot tell this father that his son is dead. Shri Krishna said, no Arjuna, you made a promise to a dying man. You've got to go and you've got to tell him. They walked along. They asked around the town. They went through the villages. They searched everywhere. They asked, do you know this blind man who has an only son? This kid pointed out, oh yes, Yagnadutta. Just find a house where the parrot outside the house can recite all the 4 Vedas. That's how knowledgeable Yagnadutta was. He could recite all 4 Vedas. They searched, they found that parrot, they knocked on the door. Suddenly, a man opened the door, and he couldn't see, Shri Krishna and Arjuna were standing. He said, son, have you come back? Have you gathered the flowers? Arjuna said, no, this is the Supreme Soul, Shri Krishna, and Arjuna standing here. This old man got so excited. Lord, you've come to see me today? Oh, this is amazing. Son, Lord, I just want to tell you, I've got an amazing son. My son is so amazing. I'm a blind man. God has given me no eyes, but he's given me the most unbelievable son. I'm so proud of this son. As soon as he said son, Arjuna said, your son, as soon as he said son, the Brahmin goes back again. He goes, Lord, you just have to meet my son. My son is amazing. There's not a single person in this town as enlightened as my son. Not a single person as knowledgeable as his son. Arjuna said, yes, your son. He said, Arjuna, my son has looked after me from such a young age. He's always been there for me. God, I would lose everything, but my son is the most amazing. He's so near and dear to me. I love his son. Arjuna, every time Arjuna said son, this Brahmin came up with something new about his son. He looked at Shri Krishna. Shri Krishna looked back at Arjuna, said, gave him the gesture, Arjuna, you've got to tell him. Arjuna put a stone in his heart's place and goes, sir, your son is no more. His son has left his body. He was bitten by a snake and he's asked us to deliver these flowers to you. These words were like lightning to the Brahmin. He fell on the floor. Tears came out of his eyes. He couldn't take it. Some tears. Arjuna couldn't believe what he had just said. It was a complete shock to him. Within a few minutes, that Brahmin got up and told Shri Krishna, Lord, I told you my son is special. My son died so that I could see the Supreme Soul in front of my eyes. Not only that, he gave me flowers so I can offer them to the Supreme Lord. Lord, whatever you wish, whatever gives you pleasure will happen. Lord, whatever pleases you will happen. At that moment, Shri Krishna looked at Arjuna, told Arjuna, I haven't even told the Gita to him. I told the whole Gita to you, haven't told it to him. Look at his knowledge. Look at this Brahmin. That's what knowledge is. like everyone goes through that experience of facing death of a loved one in life. It's that knowledge that it's not detachment, it's not detaching yourself from those relations, but knowing that you're the universal soul and so are they. You've got that love and compassion towards everyone, but know that they've not gone away. They're always there. They're eternal, they're primeval, they can never be slain. They're always there. They're permanent, and they will never go away. It's just like the phases of the moon. It's just like changing clothes. The body goes away, they're always there. They can never go away. Okay? You're the universal soul, you're the Brahman. Someone says that you're separate from the universal soul. Someone says the idol is not God. If God is omnipresent, omnipotent, omnipresent, omnipotent, if God is omnipresent, how can he not be in each and every molecule? How can he not be in you? How can he not be an idol? God is everywhere. He's in each and every place. Each and every person is that universal soul. We know inside an atom, you've got electrons, protons, neutrons, but 95% of the atom, physics tells us, is vibrations, energy. It's the supreme soul. Science can only go up to electrons, protons, and energy. Rishis in India have gone much deeper through this, through meditation. They knew the exact distance between the sun and moon is 18 times the diameter of the sun. Exact distance from the earth to the moon is 18 times the diameter of the moon. That's why we have 18 chapters in the Gita. That's why we have 108 maras. That's why we have 108 thoughts. That's why we have 108,000 verses in the Mahabharata. There's deeper meanings behind everything. Our rishis knew all of this. Galileo said that the world is not flat, it's round. He got persecuted. Our rishis knew all along that this world is round. They knew into space. They knew about everything through meditation. And we taught you meditation at the beginning. Someone was something good exercise of meditation. Practice it and see for yourself. But remember, pronunciation, very important. Not O-M, incorrect. A-U-M. You explain to them physical and mental. When you're hurt, when you're upset. When I ask you what's 49 times 48, go, try it. That's an intellect stimulation. Meditate. Remember, pronunciation is important. If you don't think you can pronounce it right, it can be very, very dangerous. Or you've got to pronounce it right. A-U-M. If you don't think you can pronounce it right, rishis have shown us a way of diluting it. Because it can be like acid. You can dilute it by saying Hari. H-A-R-I-H-I. Hari Om. Hari Om. But if you're confident, you can pronounce it right. It's not the speaking, it's the listening that's most important. You've got to listen to it because it's sound from the soul. Om. Okay? I just want to try and everyone close their eyes. Ideally take off all the other items. Yeah? Just we're going to do 3 times. 1 A, 1 U, 1 M, and then all 3 of them. Okay? Close your eyes. Deep breathing should be about 10 to 15 minutes of meditation. Okay, A first. Okay? Let's stimulate our intellects with the M. All 3. Closed. Raise your hands. Rub your hands together. Hold up. Put them on your eyes. And take your own time to come back to the present situation. Most most important thing is consistency. Doing this consistently every single day. If you start it for 5 days, one day you come back at home after work at 3 a.m. in the morning, stop for one day, it affects it. You've got to do it consistently. Very, very important. You see the benefit to your life. It says in the scriptures, anything in the world can be attained by the Omkar. Anything, all your fearlessness, we'll go through all the effects in chapter 8, chapter 6. Fearlessness, power, strength, samartha. Who's heard of Swami Ramdas, who's a guru of Shivaji? Who's heard of Shivaji, the great king of Maharashtra? Yeah, Shivaji's guru. He said his famous phrase. He named himself Samartha Swami Ramdev, which means strong. His verse was, he said, "I'm the servant of the strong, who dares to even look at me with the wrong eye." That's how strong he became. He had the ability to say that. "I'm the servant of the mighty God, who dares to even look at me with the wrong eye." It's different if if an elephant is going, dogs are barking from behind you. Who has the ability to come up in front of you and look you with the wrong eye? That's how powerful he became. Power comes from the Omkar. It's a springboard to attaining the soul, to get knowledge of the soul. Practice it and see for yourselves. That's it. Let's close our eyes and do a closing prayers. Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva bandhu cha saka tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva svarvam mama deva deva kayena vacha manasendriyeva buddhyatmana va prakriti svabhava karomi yad sakalam parasmai Narayanai samarpayami Mukam karoti vachalam Pangum langeyate girim Yatkrupatamaham vande Paramananda madhavam Krishnaya vasudevaya Haraye paramatmane Pranatha kleshanashaya Govindaya namo nama. There's a prayer. When you make mistakes in pronunciation, Guruji does this at the end of his Ram Katha, Bhagavad Gita. Say a prayer called Hare Nama. Say it 3 times. You get forgiven for any mistakes you make in your pronunciation of prayers. The Omkar is different. Hari, Om. For the prayers, it's Hare Nama. Everyone raise your hands. The reason why you raise your hands, when a baby, and you see a baby calling up to its parents, for the parents to come here, you're calling up to God to call you. Hence you raise your hands. Go Hare Nama. Hare Nama. Hare Nama. Hare Nama. Hare Nama.